Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about something that I think affects all of us, which is empathy. So empathy is something very beautiful. It is also a powerful tool for connection and understanding, but sometimes it can also be overwhelming if we don't set healthy boundaries. In my case, for example, whenever I had a conversation with a close friend who was going through a really tough time, or watched the news, or witnessed something happening on the streets, I found myself feeling the pain of those people, and sometimes I cannot shake off their emotions like for days or weeks. Sometimes I can help, sometimes it's out of my control. So I realized that I had taken on more than I could handle. So, if you have ever felt emotionally drained after listening to someone else's struggles or found yourself carrying emotions that weren't yours, you're not alone. So, in today's episode, we are going to explore what empathy is and how to protect ourselves from emotional overload while still being a caring and compassionate person. So, if you are ready, let's get started. Empathy is the ability to understand, feel, and share another person's emotions, thoughts, and experiences. It helps us connect with others on a deeper level by stepping into their shoes and seeing the world from their perspective. Empathy is not just one thing, it has layers that affect how we relate to others. So let's explore the three dimensions of empathy. The first one is cognitive empathy, which is the ability to understand what another person is feeling or thinking without necessarily experiencing those emotions yourself. It's about understanding the why behind someone's emotions or actions. So, for example, if your coworker is upset about something, cognitive empathy will help you recognize their emotional state even if you aren't experiencing that frustration yourself. You may understand that they are feeling frustrated because they have a lot of pressure to meet deadlines. The second one is emotional empathy. This is the ability to physically feel the emotions of others as if they were your own. And this type of empathy allows you to experience another person's emotions in a way that is deeply felt and can impact your own emotional state. Let's give an example. Imagine yourself sitting with a friend who's just lost his job. So, as they share their frustration, you start to feel the weight of their emotions transferring to you. You start to feel the same sense of panic, of stress, of sadness, even though the news hasn't affected you personally. So, in that case, you're not just understanding what your friend is feeling, but you are actually feeling their emotions with them. The third one is compassionate empathy. It is the ability to feel and understand another person's emotions and take actions. It goes beyond understanding and sharing emotions. It's about being moved to do something about the emotional state of the other person. For example, if you see someone struggling with a heavy load on the street, compassionate empathy would not only make you feel their frustration, but it would also push you to offer to help them carry the load without being asked. We saw that empathy is a beautiful and powerful ability, but it can also become overwhelming if we absorb too much of others' emotions. So, how can we balance being compassionate without carrying emotional burdens that aren't ours? Let's explore this together. Here's how you can set boundaries and maintain emotional balance. The first one is recognize what's yours versus theirs. Before absorbing someone else's emotions, pause and ask yourself, is this my feeling or am I just picking up someone else's? Sometimes our bodies give us clues that we are taking on someone else's emotions. For example, if you feel tense or exhausted after spending time with someone, it could be a sign you've absorbed their stress or anxiety. The second one is set emotional boundaries. It's okay to support others without becoming their emotional sponge. If a conversation is too heavy for you, say, I really care about you, but I need a moment to process this. Try to limit exposure to people who constantly drain your energy. The third one is ground yourself. Grounding is essentially the process of returning to the present moment and reconnecting with your own emotional and physical state. So, whenever you need to release overwhelming emotions and return to the present moment, take a deep breath in for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale slowly for a count of 4. Repeat this for several cycles until you feel more centered. And also, try to look around the room and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. The next one is limit your media exposure. In today's world, media exposure, whether it's through news, social media, or TV, can quickly become emotionally overwhelming. Limiting your exposure to distressing media can help preserve your emotional well-being. So set a specific amount of time each day for consuming news or social media and avoid endlessly reading negative news. Another technique is practice selective listening. You don't have to engage with every person's emotional challenges. While empathy encourages being there for others, it's okay to choose who and when to offer emotional support. You don't have to carry everyone's burdens. The next one is create emotional switch off. Establish activities or habits that help you switch off from emotionally draining situations. So engage in creative activity, exercise, or mindfulness practice that allows you to emotionally detach. For example, after a difficult day, go for a run, practice yoga, or listen to music that helps you disconnect. The last one is know when to seek professional support. If you find that emotional overload is starting to affect your mental health or your ability to function, it's important to seek professional help. A therapist can help you process your emotions and develop strategies to manage empathy without overburdening yourself. In conclusion, without careful management, empathy can lead to emotional overwhelm and burnout. By recognizing what belongs to you versus others, grounding yourself, and limiting exposure to emotional overload, you can protect your emotional well-being while still being there for those who need you. Empathy is not about absorbing others' feelings or taking on their burdens. It's about being present, understanding, and offering support in a way that is both compassionate and sustainable. As we wrap up today's episode, I encourage you to reflect on these key practices in your own life. How can you set clearer emotional boundaries? When do you need to take a step back to ground yourself? And how can you limit your exposure to emotional overload so that you can continue to give from a place of abundance? And remember, empathy is a journey that requires both giving and receiving. By maintaining a healthy balance, we can ensure that our capacity for empathy remains strong for years to come. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to share this podcast with your friends. And as always, be kind to yourself as you practice the art of empathy in your everyday life. Take care and see you next time.